All right, welcome everyone back here to Veteran Nation. I know that we've been doing a lot of different things. We're trying out some new stuff, but we are now officially we've been on the air doing this now for a year, and it's really good because I've had people come back to me now, and we're helping veterans. I know because I've had someone reach out to me. I've referred them to several of the people that we've had as guests on our shows here. So I'm very happy with where this show is at, where it's going, all the exciting things that we've been wanting to do. I still have a couple things I want to take care of, but we're definitely getting there. We're moving in a good way. Um, Now, I always said that I wanted this show to not be political. The way I see it is that any veteran who has served has the right to hold whatever political opinion they want to. With me, it doesn't get much further than the Bill of Rights. I'm a very big fan of history. I'm also a very big fan of the Bill of Rights. I think that's what sets our country apart from so many others, why we've been able to promote freedom throughout the globe when other countries where they've said that they really have not done as much for the US. And I think the Bill of Rights are absolutely key to that. Nothing is more important than the first two, though. And I will 100% always support those. I know a lot of veterans are, like-minded with that. If you don't, you know, you have your political right to be against them, but I am very much in favor of those two. So if you follow my Twitter, uh, at Veteran Nation NRN, or if you're in the Facebook group, anything like that, you're going to see I promote a lot of things that promote the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. I have my political feelings. Feel free to disagree with me. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong. I can take it. And I debate is about exchanging information, so I'm okay even debating people. Um, but with that, some people just be respectful is all I can ask. I might get under your skin because I do that. That's what happens, and it's not just people that I agree with. But I am going to talk about a couple things. Um, there are some issues out there that are kind of there are some that are what I would call a sacred cow to both sides of the argument, and then there are some out there that people are just pushing for hidden agendas. And I'm going to talk about those a little bit. In fact, the one I'm I've been researching, I've been writing it. I'm just not comfortable uh, with the article yet. I believe right now I can speak to you all here and kind of just talk about it in a way that I think makes sense. Um, and for this one is I see a lot of people on the right hand side of the political spectrum. This is one that they keep pushing, and that is term limits for federal positions. Um, I am against it, and a lot of you out there are probably going to be shocked because a lot of people that I follow and that I politically do align with are very much in favor of it. And I mean people close to me who I talk, politics or political stuff about the military, about anything. Uh, you know, they're shocked when they find out I'm not for instituting term limits. And there's a lot of reasons why, and I'm going to get into those. The first one is it's trying to achieve a political goal by removing the ballot box. I don't like that. I like it when the people have a right to vote, people have a right to choose. I don't like it when people restrict uh, the ability to vote on things. There are some things out there like, I'll probably get into this gerrymandering. It's a process of our system. It's always going to be a political process, always. So there's going to be politics injected into it. But, a lot of people are pushing term limits because they don't like certain individuals in places and they want to limit their power. I totally understand that. I don't feel that here in this country any one politician should be bigger than the system. um, you know and they should be beholden to the people. um, and the belief is that these family dynasties come in and they just have such a political machine that they will never be removed. And the idea is that when you institute term limits, that will prevent that. I don't find that to be the case. I come from Ohio. I'm very familiar with the political system in Ohio. Ohio does have term limits on many things. I'm now here living in California. California has term limits on many things. What I have found is that when you institute term limits, it doesn't break up that power structure. In fact, it makes that power structure worse because now there are people who have connections and who now are able to do more things to politically limit our choices. And here's what I mean by that. I'll take the case of Jerry Brown. Him and his family have been in, they've been in here in California politics for years. One interesting fact that you should know about Jerry Brown, he was the first major political party candidate to suggest a flat tax. I know that's considered a Republican issue. Jerry Brown is a Democrat, but very interesting thing about him that was in '91 where he suggested that. But he has been at certain positions of power here in California, and term limits didn't make him go away. What term limits did was he just had to leave this position for this position. And what happens is now other people who want to run for office, yeah, you could deal with Jerry Brown, who's going to be governor over and over and over and over. Okay, and that's going to be a lifelong position, similar to, like, I would say the Kennedys in, Massachusetts. His family's going to have power. Well, when now you have to play this shell game, what happens is his people are now working behind the scenes and they're really limiting everything else. And it becomes this game of only a couple haves moving things in their favor to keep the have-nots out. And it becomes much more of a way to really kind of game the system. I saw that in Ohio. Currently Mike DeWine is the governor of Ohio. He was previously the governor of Ohio. Term limits pushed him out, but it didn't take power away from him. He was able to move around and do different things and still politically maneuver. So I really believe that when you don't have term limits, yeah, you might get that individual or individuals who now they are in this system and they're in this position, but they're not going to affect it across the board. When you introduce term limits, now they're not just concerned so much about their position. Now they're worried about these other ones because they have to make sure that it aligns so that, hey, when I can no longer run for governor, I want to make sure I've got a clear shot to attorney general. So you're seeing more of this backroom deal that goes back to when we had the party boss system back in the 1800s. If you Boss Tweed and I'm trying to think a couple of the other ones, Roscoe Conkling, that was another one of the boss system. That was back before we had really primaries. It was just the party bosses would decide who would be running for which things. You didn't have a clue who was going to be running for president until you got to the convention, and the party bosses would then make their deals, and it would go up on the party delegate ballot, and that's how we determined who would be running for president and vice president per se. So that's what, in general, that's why I'm not in favor of term limits. Also, it creates, whenever you do something politically, like okay, we're going to do this to do this. What you do is you create these loopholes. And anyone who's been in the military, who's been involved in the federal system, you're familiar with loopholes, tax loopholes. Oh, we're going to give a tax exemption to this group because of these reasons. Well, guess what? Now this group can also come in and take advantage of that loophole. And now they're taking advantage of our tax system. And that's how you get these corporations who don't pay taxes. All they're doing is taking advantage of very legal things that are out there because the government has said, oh yeah, you can take advantage of this. And they wrote in these loopholes, not with the intention of writing in a loophole. Most times it was with a very sincere intention to, no, we're going to help this group. If you give so much to charity, you're going to be able to deduct this type of thing. And you know, that's where this system gets created and ultimately abused, and then they have to close the loophole. It's unintended consequences, and that is exactly what I expect to happen when if they were ever to pass term limits, is that we would see unintended consequences that we absolutely do not want. So I'm very much against term limits. I talked about gerrymandering. Okay, gerrymandering is a political process. And there's a lot of people who want to get rid of gerrymandering. It's been a problem for years. The problem is the solutions I have seen people bring forward are not really solutions. Again, it's just it's just creating unintended consequences. And I'll give you some examples. For instance, here in California, it's a committee who is supposed to be a nonpartisan committee. The problem with that, people are always partisan. Like, show me someone who wants to be in government, and I'll show you someone who's partisan. It's very hard to find reluctant leaders in the military, or in the government. Someone who just does not really want to, look, I don't want to be a part of that process. That's the person who we really should have there. Instead, you have these people who they want power, they want to do this thing. So a bipartisan commission can very quickly be partisan because, well, they're picked by partisan people. They, are essentially an unelected group. So now they have a lot more freedom to do whatever. Where I would like to see gerrymandering kind of be done away with is, there's only one way to do it, and that's, there has to be districts drawn up by population. That has to happen. We know it has to be, X amount of people. I believe it's now a little bit over 500,000 people. It's been a while since I looked at it, so if I'm incorrect, don't beat me up on it. But what I would do is say, okay, well, we know that the population of this state is this much, so we need this many districts. So then, you just go right through and say, okay, here's our major population centers here, and you list them out, and you go by, top to bottom, and then you say, okay, so these are going to be the center of our districts, and you go to the first area and you say, okay, pick a point right in the middle of that city or county or whatever, and the precincts, how many people, how many voters are in each precinct, and just say, okay, we're going to use a random number generator, north, south, east, west, and you move precinct to precinct with a random number generator telling you which one you're going to, and you keep adding precincts to that district until that district now is built. You're going to get some crazy looking districts, but that is the only way I could ever see that coming to where there isn't going to be a political influence. If using a random number generator and knowing, okay, keep doing it, keep adding up the population until we get to that number, boom, okay, now we move to the next population center and do it up that way. And then, eventually as precincts come off, okay, now instead of 4 cardinal directions as you get to those higher number districts, now you only have 3 or 2 because that's the only way. And at least then that's the only way where you can keep it random, but you can also keep those precincts. What I'll say, you can keep them completely randomly chosen and connected in a way. Because right now there are districts that, like, here's bulk of the district, there's another one, and there's another district in between it. There's no connection. You see that a lot of places, and that's what politicians do. So that's the only way I can ever see that being taken away from politicians. I know neither party would be happy with that because it takes power away from them. That's how I see gerrymandering a solution to that. Also, there is one sacred cow. I talked about sacred cows, and abortion is definitely a sacred cow to both sides of the political argument. For women, it's the right to choose. For religious people, it's the right to life. And for me, I really don't care about either side. Um, it's just one of those things. I think the Supreme Court has failed the American people by not stating, okay, at this point here is when life occurs. By not just saying that and saying anyone beforehand, we're not considering it life. States make your rules compared to that. Anyone beyond that, it's very much, you hear a lot about these voter ID laws. Voter ID laws have been determined to be completely legal per a bipartisan grouping of the Supreme Court. And but there's certain standards, and it's the Indiana standard that they consider. Um, uh, Crawford v. Marion County is the case that decided it. But it said pretty much if you're giving free IDs for voting to people, then yeah, of course you can tell everyone they have to have a voter ID to vote. But there's that alleviates access, stuff like that. A lot of the complaints that people say about voter ID laws, and that has kind of become a sacred cow. But the Supreme Court did a very good job of saying if you meet these circumstances, then you can have a voter ID law. I think they really failed when it came to abortion by not clearly stating if you meet this, then it's allowed or not allowed, that type of thing. So that's why this ball that keeps getting kicked back and forth. For Republicans, abortion has been a losing issue. I don't quite understand why they keep pushing pro-life nominees to the Supreme Court when even the ones they've brought really have no interest in taking up the issue. I don't see that with the current court. I didn't see, why there was that big of a push. Abortion is always like the biggest thing that they talk about whenever someone goes up on the Supreme Court. And I just wish that the Supreme Court would just finally take up a case and say, look, here's the parameters. And at least then, everything I think will die down, because I think reasonable people will be like, okay, at a certain point, not everyone believes that life begins at conception. Not everybody believes that I forget the number, but pretty much an 8.5-month baby in the womb. Not everybody is like, oh, that's not a life. So there has to be somewhere in the middle. The Supreme Court really should have set those parameters so that we could get past this issue. There's always going to be the fringe on both sides who are never going to get past, but that's the only way I can see that getting settled. But the issue is just a sacred cow to both sides. They fundraise off it. They both, oh, we're going to do this or we're going to do this. It muddies the water on everything else and makes it so much harder to get things done. So that's why it's not a big issue for me. And that, like I said, that's a losing issue for Republicans. There's plenty of research out there. There's been plenty of, things out there to show that, hey, if Republicans only focus on abortion, they almost lose every single time. It's only in certain areas of the country where where there's a lot of very religious people. That's the only place where that is a winning issue. So it's not across the board, and in most population centers, it's going to be a loser. On the flip side, for Democrats, the Second Amendment, trying to push gun control, is a losing issue, and because again, even with Democrats, there's a lot of gun-owning Democrats out there. Why they keep pushing gun control as hard as what they do. Again, I am very much in favor of guns. I think people should have guns, should know how to use them safely. You should definitely take a class. There's nothing I hate more than irresponsible gun ownership. And you know what? There's a lot of gun owners out there that have a lot of problems with what I believe. I believe you should carry a gun. I believe you should. You should have that right. And for many people, I think you should carry one, almost day to day. However, I am not in favor of what in the Marine Corps we call condition one carry. That's round in the chamber. unless if you're in like a, a gang area, where your likelihood of being attacked is almost, likely. I don't feel you should carry one round in the chamber. A lot of gun people will get mad at me about that. For me, it's just I've seen too many negligent discharges that, where like where I live, I, you know, I will absolutely carry a gun around. I can have a concealed carry permit here, uh, but I don't see the likelihood of me getting attacked is going to happen. With that, you know, if you have a gun, you should go to the range often, in my opinion. And honestly, you should, especially if it's a pistol, you should practice as part of your draw, um, putting around in the chamber. Uh, you know, I've been to the Marine Corps uh, pistol range many times. Those are those quick react drills that you do. Um, and part of that is no chambering around. um, so I know if it's something that you practice, it absolutely can be done without you know really affecting your draw at all. I know people, oh, you only have so many seconds. I totally agree with you, but it's rare for people to be uh, armed to be attacked very quickly to where, you know, if you're going to be attacked that fast, you probably aren't going to see it coming type of thing. There'll be one of those random attacks. For every other type of attack, like, it's probably going to come. So you have a chance to draw your pistol, chamber the round, and just be ready. And quite honestly, um, you talk about escalation of force measures. Pulling your weapon is an escalation of force measure. Chambering that round physically, that shows whoever you're up against that you are serious. And brandishing that weapon, when you draw, you're brandishing your weapon. In many places, that is a crime already. So if you are in that fear already, you should just make the chambering part of drawing the weapon. It just states to whoever the enemy is that I am ready for whatever you're about to bring. So there's a lot of gun people out there who completely and totally disagree with me. I can tell you this right now: it's one more thing that is going to prevent me from having a negligent discharge. And trust me, I've seen a lot of people who are very experienced with guns have negligent discharges. I've seen Marines, uh, you know, Marines and law enforcement officers. I've seen them. They're used to handling weapons every single day. I've seen both have a negligent discharge. So to think that, oh, no, it'll never happen. The person who thinks it'll never happen to them is the person that it'll happen to. So these are some political things that, I am involved, I guess you would say, in that I feel strongly on in many ways that, not everybody disagrees with me. This is about as political as I'm really going to get on this show, other than having a candidate on who is running for office. But I will promise you this. I'm still going to keep, I can't think of a scenario where I would have a political person on that isn't either a veteran or running against a veteran, because I will always be open to giving both sides. So if you're a veteran running for office, you want to come on the show, I will bring you on. I will interview you. If you're running against a veteran, and I will absolutely give the other side. I don't care what political party you are. So if you are, and the other thing is, you're a Green Party candidate, Libertarian. Don't think I'm limiting anyone to just Republican, Democrat. I'm not. I definitely want people to have the right to say um, their piece. And unless if it's something that I would say is morally reprehensible, and most political disagreements that we have here are not morally reprehensible. Like, I know, again, abortion, going back to that sacred cow, people would say that is, for me, it's not. Reasonable people can disagree, and debating is about the exchange of information. So I think we all benefit when there's a healthy debate out there. So that's my viewpoints on it. So I'll keep working on this article. Hopefully, I'll finish it, get to a point where I'm comfortable with it. Because again, it's my opinions. I don't like pushing many of my opinions out there, especially politically, because I like being fair. Uh, but it's something that I feel very strongly about it, and it's one of these things that I've seen people who just have a lot of disagreement on it that, I'm willing to, say, here's why I've approached this logically. If someone disagrees with me, you can bring it to me. But, I've had people that I politically agree with argue with me on this. And other than, for some of these things, you know, for me, they're either a dead issue or it's an issue where I've thought through logically and I think I'm pretty solid on. So, um, it's not often that I will not be open-minded. I can talk about anything. You know, I think we've proved that on this show time and time again. But I'm still working with a couple guests to bring them on the show here in the future. Again, I want to get more gun people on. I actually do want to do some shooting events. I got a very exciting thing that I'm trying to do. I am trying to go to Combat Con. Combat Con happens in Las Vegas. It's at the end of July this year. It was made a virtual event last year, but I really want to go in person to Combat Con. I think it'll be fun. I'm trying to get also a special guest to come with me, so I'd like to see if we can make that deal happen. But those are some of the things that we're working on behind the scenes here. Also, I am okay. I'm not trying to make money off this show. Uh, as you can see, I bought some new equipment. I'm going to keep trying to improve the show. I'm going to keep trying to improve stuff like that. So with that, I have been writing letters to people for sponsorship. If you have a veteran-owned business that I will, as before, I'll always give you that one plug for free. But if you'd like to sponsor the show, if you want to help veterans, keep reach out to me. I'll do a live read. I'll put your logo, somewhere, whatever you want to do. I'm willing to work with you. But yeah, I'm really looking for an ability just to keep buying new equipment to improve the quality of the show. So that's some things out there. Feel free to contact me. Again, I'm on Twitter at Veteran Nation NRN on Twitter. Also, you can always go to www.nrnplus.com/VN and you can subscribe to the show, subscribe to the network. You can contact me through there, and any suggestions that you have for the show, I would love to hear. And I'm trying to get a couple of you have reached out to me for guests. I am trying to get some of your suggestions onto the show. So we're working. I'm also trying to go back to having a co-host, or at least someone who can be an also also host of the show, where we maybe rotate. Where they host the show one week, I host the show another week. I'm looking for some veterans to do some stuff like that. So a lot of cool things. Hopefully, we'll see where they go. But beyond that, I hope you had a happy Father's Day. I hope you're enjoying your summer, and just if you need any help, reach out to me. Reach out to any of the people that we've had as guests on the show who want to who have programs out there. There's a lot of really cool things that you can benefit from. So keep getting better every single day. And for those of you who joined us today, thank you very much. Thank you for being worth serving.